What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, January the 22nd, and this is My News Radar. So let's start off this news radar with kind of an update on a story from Wednesday's news radar, the last news radar. The headline story, the thumbnailed story, was a story about a Surface Duo user, a poor, innocent Surface Duo user who was zapped, shocked, whatever verb you would like to use, by their Surface Duo. Now, I showed you in that news radar some of the imagery that was in this post on Reddit, and I referenced this Windows Central article. I talked about in this news radar that, this was a really insane, crazy thing to happen. Well, luckily enough, because the images that we initially had here were a little difficult to make out, I actually found myself in contact with this particular user via our Discord channel, and he was kind enough to share some additional details as well as some additional photos. So you can see in this first photo that he shared, you can see a bit better in that charging port. You can see some discoloration there that indicates maybe some burning, some heat. You can also see some warping there. Trust me, I know how hard it is to take a picture of the Surface Duo. It's so thin. I've tried to hold it up. It doesn't want to focus. It's difficult. I get it. But you can see a bit better there than you could in the other image. And then he also does share another look at the redness after the event, the shocking event had taken place. He also does share that the port was actually smoking a little bit, so it definitely sounds like something shorted out in that connection. He also did update here that they are still investigating what happened with this Surface Duo. He did mail it back to Microsoft. This is, unfortunately, as I said in the other video, the third Surface Duo for this individual user. What an incredibly bad string of luck there for this person. Really, really unfortunate. So in that video, I also asked if anybody around watching happens to have any expertise in, electricity, if they happen to maybe be an electrical engineer, a tech, anything like that, where they might be able to explain or basically confirm that, yes, this is possible. Like I said in the video, I'm not calling, it was Live Vicarious is the user on Reddit. I'm not calling this person a liar. I just want to have multiple sources of confirmation that this does all make sense. It's not the same as saying someone's lying. It's just doing your due diligence. I don't want to bring something to you guys and if there's a possibility that this could be a hoax or that something else is going on. But it doesn't look like a hoax. And we have a comment down here from one of my viewers, Dantastic, said, as an electrical tech for almost 20 years, it takes very little current to shock and contract the muscles, which is something mentioned in the Reddit post. It felt the muscles in his hand contract. Only about 0.01 amps, and 0.1 amps can kill or electrocute you. Most current chargers put out approximately 2 amps, 20 times more than the current needed to kill in the right or wrong condition. So this is, an outside source saying, yeah, this actually is possible. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to bring you guys that, a little bit more clarity on that particular story. I got a few questions about kind of some of these additional details. So there you go. There's a little bit more in terms of that. I'll let you know if I hear anything back about if this user does get a return device, if he's able to just get a refund, because that's what he's actually trying to do at this point. 3 devices in and then being shocked by the third one. Can't really blame me at that point. And if you want to follow along yourself, you can simply join the Discord server down there, because we've been having these conversations in the Discord server. Feel free to join in. So one of the features the Surface Duo has is the ability to create a pair of apps, an icon that when you touch it will launch 2 apps at once, one on each screen. And while it's not a feature that I actually find myself using all that regularly, there's a couple of use cases that I do have. It does look like this is a feature that is going to be coming to Android 12, baked in as a full-on Android feature. Now, it's important for me to mention that Surface Duo was not the first to have app pairs. Actually, Samsung did this some time ago, actually, and it just kind of, in Samsung's attempt to create, a version, a fork of Android that has a billion added on features, it kind of got rolled into the mess and people didn't really notice, but it is a useful feature, and it will be coming to Android 12. Android 12 will solve the split screen multitasking woes with a trick called app pairs. And I think that the more we do to make one screen multitasking better, the better off we are. I think Windows 10 does a pretty good job of that in itself, with the ability to snap windows on either side. So I use that feature some. I still, rather have two screens, but having an app pairs, shortcut might be actually really useful. 9 to 5 Google reports that app pairs will group two apps together into one task if they're working in split screen view. Simple words, the system will recognize them as a single task. What this should mean is that you'll be able to pick two of your recently opened apps to become a pair. Once paired, you should be able to easily swap to using a different single app and then swap back to the pair you created. So basically, this sounds a little bit different. They're not explicitly saying you're going to have an icon on your desktop that will launch two apps. What they're saying is that once you have two apps and now you've split viewed them, you've split screened them, that you'll be able to mark them as a pair and then they'll appear in your recent apps. So you'll be able to, go home, open up Twitter, go home or swipe up and hold to go to your recents, and those two apps that you had split screened will not be separate. They will be still paired like that, which will allow you to jump back into them again. Because in the past, if you had two apps paired and you needed to close those two to go to a third app, and then you wanted to go back to your split screen view, you would have to go in and split them again and go through that gesture once again. Whereas this sounds like that'll be retained if you mark it that way. I think they should take that final step and allow you to make a shortcut on your desktop to just launch that pair. I think that would be another great step in the right direction. And this is something that Nadeem writes in this article. OEMs have done this in the past by letting users create a shortcut of two apps that opens them in a split screen mode with a single tap. But that's not the same thing as what Google wants to achieve here. Important distinction to be made there. Pretty cool. What do you guys think about the idea? How much can we do in software to emulate the Surface Duo experience on other devices, especially on something like a Z Fold or a large screen like that? How much can we really do to emulate having two separate screens? I'm interested to see how far this kind of thing goes. So now let's talk about something that's kind of a bummer for me. So I've owned several LG phones over the years, G series phones, V series phones, and they've been very good devices. And I think the biggest thing that LG does with a lot of their things is they do things that are different. They step outside the box, even when it's small things. LG was one of the first companies to put a wide angle lens in their smartphones. And that's not a huge thing, but it's really common now, and they were one of the first ones to do it. LG's also been, the guys that make the LG Wing, or they did the dual screen cases. They've done a lot of strange things over the years. So it is rather sad that there are now rumors swirling that LG may be about to stop making smartphones. They may be selling off the smartphone manufacturing. Unclear yet. But LG, at least in this story, has stopped production of LCD screens for iPhones as reports of phone business exit swirl. So there's reports LG's contemplating an exit from the smartphone industries thanks to the dwindling shipment figures over the years and a long spell of losses. Reports that they pulled the plug on making smartphone LCD panels, a large chunk of which were destined for iPhones before Apple finally went all in on OLED panels. Android Police is reporting essentially the same thing. LG's contemplating exiting the smartphone business. We've got rumors from people on Twitter, some pretty high-end leakers saying, yeah, this is being talked about. Reporting that LG delivered a message to its employees that would announce the move by end of the month, saying workers should stop all development except for the rollable phone, which the company teased during CES. There are also rumors that they're being potentially, they may just sell the phone version. You basically sell the phone property off to a Vietnamese company. A lot to take in there. LG, for a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people just say, oh, well, LG's, who cares? It's just LG. Well, I think that the thing that we really have to think about here is something that Liliputing, and Brad Linder is one of these guys that we think very similarly in this regard. If LG stops making smartphones, who will push the boundaries with weird devices like Wing and LG Rollable? And he goes through a lot of these things. He talks about LG Wing. He talks about LG Rollable. He talks about the G5 that you could pull the bottom off and attach a module to have a camera bump with a big speaker, a hi-fi speaker there, 360 camera. LG G6 was one of the first phones to feature an 18:9 aspect ratio, which was very different. And I get, I've had a lot of people on Twitter say, yeah, but, being experimental and weird doesn't equate to making money. And I get that. It doesn't. You're right. Clearly you are correct. But my fear is that we already live in a world where pick a phone manufacturer. Just pick one. Samsung, Motorola, Sony. They all pretty much just make the same phone as each other every year. They bump the specs and they roll out the same phone. So if LG is really going to be gone from the phone market, it is a bummer. I think that now, and this is something that Brad mentions in this, really all we have now is companies, these small companies like Planet, FX Tech, Pine, using crowdfunding to make these other kind of strange devices. And I'm really happy that that still exists in some way. But we will miss LG, even if you don't buy LG phones. You need someone to be crazy in the market. You can't just have everybody making the same phone. Credit to Samsung for making the Fold and the Flip and being a little different and being experimental. But I just feel like if LG is gone, it's going to be a little bit of a bummer. And even if you don't buy their phones, you're going to miss the innovation and the weirdness and the throwing stuff at the wall to just see what happens. Because when they throw something at the wall, sometimes what happens, I'll give you a good example. Look at the Palm Pre. The Palm Pre was a massive failure. It was an incredible phone with some problems. Does that sound familiar to anyone else? But even though it failed, a lot of the things it did moved on to other devices. The card view of multitasking, that's WebOS. When you swipe up and hold and then you get your cards, you swipe through to pick your app, that's WebOS. That innovation can still have ripple effects into other devices. So we don't want a world where no one's thinking outside the box. That's boring and it's bad. It stagnates. So kind of a bummer on that one if true, which it does appear to probably be true. So guys, that is all the news I have for you on this one. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next News Radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.